Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on tonight's edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime Television. We are coming to you live from Douala, the nation's economic capital, where My Media Prime's head office is located. As you know, on Tuesdays, we discuss relationships and marriage. And today we have yet another very interesting topic, and we are hoping to get the very best of contributions from you and, of course, our experts in this domain. Tonight, we discuss dealing with in-laws. Is marriage truly for two persons? With us in the studio is our permanent consultant, none other than Apostle Ambe Valentine. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Faith. Good evening, Cameroonians. Good evening, Africans. Welcome to the African Eye. Good evening, my co-panelists, and welcome to today's edition. We are treating something that is making rounds around the social media and on the internet, and I'm sure we're going to bless you today.
Most certainly. Also with us in the studio is clergy and counselor Apostle Alfred Isingi. You're welcome to Prime Hour.
Thank you very much, Faith. Thank you very much for bringing me here again today so that I can be useful to our community and our society. You cannot imagine the number of people watching us every day. I go to places and like I was in Boya the other day, it was like an explosion. Everybody wants to. So I know we are doing a lot of work to the people. This evening is another time again.
Most certainly. We also have with us in the studio Rev Kenneth, Tata, author, and of course counselor. You're welcome to Prime Hour.
Thank you very much, Faith. Good evening to you. Good evening to Apostle Ambe. Good evening to our viewers. It's such a wonderful privilege for us to be here. I've been offset for a while, and I'm glad to be on tonight. I know we're going to have a great time to share these things, and I know our viewers are going to be like edified. So stay glued to your screen.
Right, and also joining us in the course of tonight's edition of the program, Counselor Mrs. Yvette Asad. Called in-laws. Is marriage truly for two persons? I'll start with you, Apostle Alfred Isingi. We are talking tonight in-laws, and we are asking their place and of course how fellow Cameroonians and Africans, and why not those who are watching us from other borders, international borders, can deal with their in-laws. What exactly is the place, or what exactly do in-laws, what place do in-laws occupy in a marriage?
All right, that's a good observation that we're going to be looking into so that we can be able to correct some things that are happening in society. I want to say that the white man brought a lot of things that tampered with our culture, and that's why much of what we're doing here, we're looking at it with the African eye. What does the African man think about relationship, about marriage, about all the other things? That's exactly what we'll be looking about. And I want to say that actually the African man believes that they don't marry a daughter or a son. They believe that they marry a family. That's exactly how the African man sees it. But unfortunately, the white man has told us that it is only two people that gets married. And at the end of the day, we have embraced that particular theory to an extent which it doesn't work. Because it doesn't only go to in-laws, but it has gone now to neighbors. It has gone now to schools. It has gone now to other things. So it is really broad now. Who are the people getting married, or who are the people that should be involved in marriage? As a matter of fact, even the neighbors now are more concerned in our marriage than even maybe our family members. But we want to also look at the fact that in-laws are very useful and are very important in marriage. However, there are some difficult in-laws that must be handled technically. And as we're going ahead, we're going to look into those kind of in-laws who are interested in taking control, ruling, riding, and making the home of someone to look almost like a war zone. And some people are in big trouble now because of this I want to say difficult in-law. I don't want to give them another adjective to describe them, but I want to give just this word, difficult in-laws. Now, why are they difficult? It's because they have refused to accept that they have a limit when it comes to marital issues. Yes, they have a say. Yes, they have a role to play. Yes, they play a vital role in the lives of their children who are married. But there is a particular limit which they should earn. Unfortunately, difficult in-laws have gone to the extent of even entering the marital room of those who are married, and it becomes a problem. They go to the point where they are the ones controlling what is put in the pot soup and what should not be put in the pot soup. If they look at you, you're fresh in marriage, they say, a hen I will pick in a money way them the chop and so, and it has become a really big problem because many more in-laws are getting to it now. We are not looking at difficult in-laws only at the level of when you are already married. We look at them even from the time you want to marry. I have seen funny things in these marital issues when we go to for dowry, we go for knock doors and all the like. There are some people who are bent on taking every franc that young boy has. Until they take it all, they will not be satisfied, and some of them are ready to frustrate the marriage, especially if that particular girl is not his or her parents that are directly involved. It's either their uncles or their relatives. Worse still, when that particular girl is an orphan whose parents died some time ago. So that is exactly where we begin to diagnose difficult in-laws, because they are not only going to mess you up during the time of the dowry or the bride price or anything, they are going to mess you up even after you're married, because they will be bringing unnecessary things in the village, and they think that you should be able to, you should leave everything you are doing and be concerned about it. And then you come for funerals to come and bury, or maybe you come to join your wife for maybe one funeral or something that is in the village, and they take all the cost of that particular program and they hand it over to you, the man. You must do it. Well, I may not have met such kind of people, but I meet people every day who suffer from such things, and that's exactly what brings my concern to these things, so that we can help some people who are going through difficult times, especially when they are suffering from the hands of difficult in-laws.
Thank you so much, Apostle Alfred, for giving us an apt summary of exactly the things that we are going to be touching tonight. I come with you. I come with this question, the same question I asked Apostle Alfred. What exactly is the place of in-laws in the marriage? What role are they supposed to play, and what role are they not supposed to play?
Yeah, Faith, we cannot speak about marriage without mentioning in-laws, because in-laws finally are the people that decide if marriage has to hold or not. They play a very important role if a man and a woman have to finally settle. So we cannot minimize their position. In-law, what are we talking about? It has to do with father-in-law, mother-in-law, sisters-in-law, brothers-in-law. So these are the in-laws we are talking about, and you cannot just suddenly take somebody's child and go and keep without the consent of the father or the mother. And according to the African custom, it's obvious that you have to pay bride price, and it's the in-law that receives the bride price. As a matter of fact, it is the girl's father that decides the brothers that will come and gather. And in some communities or some cultures, the father sometimes does not even touch the bride price. It is the elder brother of the father has to collect the bride price. And in some situations, like the womb culture, where it is an aunt's son that has to come and receive the inheritance of the brother. So we have very complicated tradition, but the in-laws have a role that is inevitable. We cannot play with them. The only challenge you have is that most of the times in-law want to play the role of husband, and in-laws want to play the role of wife. And I think that the in-laws are supposed to know that they have a limit. Their responsibility is to chair the occasion, collect the bride price, give the blessings, and allow the man to lead his wife and the woman to enjoy her husband. But unfortunately, to me, the in-laws are of that relevance when the husband and the wife brings them in. Just like when they want to get married, it's the man that brings in the parents, the woman brings in her own parents. So from the very beginning, it is a man and the woman that brings in the in-laws. Now when they play their role, if there is a need tomorrow, the man and the woman should equally be the ones also to bring the in-laws back. If there's a challenge, if there's a crisis in the home, the man and the woman should be the one to decide. But unfortunately, it's not the case. Some parents, sometimes after handing their children over, they move over to keep on controlling their children in the house of a man. And some women also still go ahead to influence their daughters in the house of a man, thereby bringing so many problems when it comes to marriages. And what we want to emphasize here today is that the in-laws should understand that when a man gets married, he becomes independent. When a woman gets married, she becomes independent. At that level, you can only counsel, you can only guide, you don't superimpose or force your will upon your daughter. As a matter of fact, the day your daughter becomes someone's wife, you lose complete or partial or three-quarter authority over your daughter. That day she succumbs to a man, no longer to the family. I think we should be able to understand when a woman is paying allegiance to her family and when she's paying allegiance to a husband. And if we don't understand these differences, it's going to make us to try to play a role where we no longer have such authority. You have dominion, you have influence, you have right over your child when the child is still under your control. When the child submits under another authority, you don't have that right and that authority anymore to go and begin to try to influence things. And because of the way some women live in their homes, they want to plant the same way they treated their husband in the lives of their daughters. The way some men also, their fathers treated their mother, the father also wants to influence the son to treat their wife the same way. But no two women are the same. You cannot copy marriage from your homes. You can copy good virtues, good attitude, but there are some things that are unique because the man you are getting married to is not your mother. The man you are getting married to is not your father. So you have to understand the person you are getting married to. But some people want to copy, that's how my father treated my mother. That's how my father treated my mother. If I was to live the way my father treated my mother, I would not have been treating my wife the way I'm treating her right now. My father and I are two opposite. Completely two opposite people. My philosophy, my mentality, my scope of reasoning is totally different from my father's scope of reasoning. And that's the same thing. Some people sometimes want to copy and paste their father's attitude. The issue is, ask how was your mother when she lived under your father. And some women also want to copy their mother's attitude. How did your mother treat your father? Is that a good example for you to copy? You don't just copy any kind of rubbish. But the roles of in-law cannot be overemphasized. Nevertheless, they're supposed to know their limits. That's what we want to discuss here today.
All right, we're going to be coming to the limits in the minutes ahead. But it is true that we have established, Reverend Kenneth, that in-laws are difficult. But can there ever be, or is there a good enough reason why an in-law should be difficult?
I think this word difficult is also relative because some people are being guided in their relationship and you attack the in-law difficult person. Yes, so it is also a relative terminology that we really need to examine and take it a little further than just the surface meaning of difficult. One of the things I want to say is that people at times attract the interference of in-laws in their marriage based on the immaturity they to demonstrate in their marriages. Yeah, that is the first submission I want to make. There are people who have gotten married and they have proven to the girl's family and to the boy's family that they are not mature, they were not ready for marriage. How? By the frequent quarreling, by the frequent, in fact, you are married for 2 years and they have family meetings have started about 4 times. Why would in-laws stay away? To come in and really make things difficult for you, if at all it makes things difficult. So then, secondly, I believe that within the framework of marriage, no third party infiltrates a marriage without the permission of the couple. If 2 of them build their fence well and there is no leakage, there is nobody who will enter to bring any difficulty. Take for granted that as the man, your family wants to persecute your wife and you tell them it cannot work this way. Nobody is going to force himself into your marriage to make things difficult for her. It depends on how much you sell your wife to your family, you as the man. And so also the woman. There are some women that the moment their husband frowns in the house, the mother is aware. The moment the husband comes back, maybe let's say he habitually comes back at 7 p.m. The moment it's 7:15, he's not yet back, the mother is aware. The moment this or that is happening in the home, is aware. There are some mommy's boys who, if their mother does not sanction the purchase of a piece of land, it cannot go. So those are people who attract the presence of in-laws in their marriages because they have demonstrated that they were not yet ripe for marriage. And sometimes when the in-laws come in a form of regret, they are regretting that they gave this boy or this girl in marriage, or they allowed their son to get married as a minor. However, the person may be of age, but by virtue of what their reasoning is like, their mindset is like. They think that the guy is a minor or the lady is a minor. So we are supposed to look at it from both flanks. One, as the man, you make sure you are man enough and you are mature enough the way you handle your family, so that nobody comes into your marriage to dictate the tune, to call the tune as how things are supposed to happen in your home. You as a woman too, you make sure that you try as much as possible to keep things within a certain confines, so that people don't come into your marriage every now and then to tell you what you are supposed to do. Take for example, a woman who has gotten married and doesn't know how to cook well. Your mother-in-law will surely want to come and show you how to pound their chew.
You want to come and cook for the son?
To come and cook for the son because
serve him.
And serve him because he's seen how after how many months of marriage the son is rather emaciating. So it is not the right thing to do, but I'm saying that some of those things are the biddings that bring in-laws into the marriage.
Good.
Unfortunately.
Good.
Okay. So, Apostle Alfred, to what extent then, because we have all established that in-laws are an integral part in Africa of the home. You cannot talk about marriage without mentioning in-laws. So to what extent exactly, what are these limits that these in-laws don't know about that they are supposed to respect when it comes to a married couple?
Yes, when we talk about some limits that in-laws should respect, especially those in-laws that have taken high dowry or bride price. Those in-laws who have taken high bride price should give enough space so that enough money again. And family, give space for them to gather money. Don't wait after 2 months, 3 months, or 1 year they married. You start bringing some way auntie for we papa side. When I be the only living auntie where he remain, he don't die. And for with country fashion, na in-law, now they can buy coffin, and then I go key 6 goat, you go key swine. See, some people are unrealistic. Now you see these young people, especially today, it is mostly young people that are getting married. They have tried to gather themselves and put some finances to be able to make maybe that kind of exorbitant high dowry, high bride price, and then buy, some will tell you to buy 3 goats. They will buy whiskey, as if whiskey has become a traditional drink. The gods are now drinking whiskey. They are no longer drinking palm wine anymore. Now the gods have been violated. Now instead of taking tobacco, you want them, they will buy, they say buy lace, buy mommy lace, buy papa lace. You know, they will ask you some kind of things. Immediately these boys and girls marry, please stay away from them for a long time. Even if it is 5 years, give them space. Don't get up and send one daughter to come and live with them, or one. That is what some people do. You just get up and you send people to people's houses to come, and they say they come holiday, and when they come holiday, they don't go back again. Yes, they don't go back again. We don't just discover say village no fine for the picking them, as they can't stay with you now, they look fresh, may they just remain. You understand? And that is where the problem is. Now the children stay in that home and begin to see all the malpractices that are happening. You want query with your master, you want query with your woman, they sumot you to those side of a village. They don't come up for fight now. So this mommy, the auntie for the handle they give brother chop. So much of one touch am, auntie don't vex. And some things that the man can manage with the wife, those children in the house cannot manage it, and they will just take it, any small thing they say it out, and it becomes very bad. And then even that feeling that the man has to feel the wife for those few new years, because when you get married to your wife, you have to enjoy her, you have to, all those noise they make in the house, all those kind of things, they are not supposed to, people are not supposed to be in the house to hear all those kind of things at that time, because you can play and rush to the parlor, you can play and enter the kitchen, you can play and turn this way. But some of these people cannot play, because you want turn so you see picking day for day, you want turn so you see an in-law day for day. And some of these in-laws, they get some kind of neck. They get neck. They don't like to see others prosper. And that is why I will always advise people, in the first years of your marriage, never allow any in-law to live in your house. in the first years. After maybe 10 years or 11 years, 12 years, that time you people are mature, you have enjoyed all the enjoyable, you have felt all the felt, you have eaten the chicken, both of you, or yes, or if you have your own children that you're giving birth to, that's fine. But to say you bring in other people, now in-laws go to the extent of bringing new people to the house to disturb the house. Now sometimes the mother-in-laws don't come to live with you, they just send a spy to come and live in the house. When I tell me what they happen for that house, each up today, each up waiting. Then you see how we call and we'll be insulting and we'll be saying the next motorway, the common village car, they come. And then they come to the house and start quarreling and arguing. Now listen to this. Your wife should be responsible for their family. And your husband, the husband should be responsible for his own family. To be able to put things in order. The wife's family should not cross and go and be dealing with the husband, or the husband's family cross and go and be dealing with the wife, because there will be a lot of problems. The wife should be able to talk to her own family. There's a way she will talk and they will understand, because now they are picking. And then the husband should be able to talk to their family, because some of the excesses are being caused by people who cannot manage their marriages. You allow your own family to come into your marriage to the extent where they begin to control your wife. Check everything. Check the dress that she wears. Check the shape. Check everything. The way those start paying, say the way clothes you don't start wearing, all these kind of things. At the end of the day, it becomes a problem. The modern day in-laws, they don't even send people in the house to come and check. They have neighbors. They have position. When they come, the day they came and visit, they create relationship with the neighbor. And when they go back, neighbor is the one telling everything that is happening in the house, even the one that happened or the one that did not happen. So you have to be very careful. Something we are talking about limits. You don't even know that the modern day witchcraft doesn't build shrines again. They now live in block houses. That is what mothers have done. Some fathers have done. Neighbors are the one watching to tell them what is happening. And that's exactly how people have gone to homes and they have influenced homes. Let me tell you something. I will never advise people to bring in-laws in the house to stay for a very long time. No, I will never advise it. Because when they stay for a very long time, they will always want to take side with their own person. That is why there should be a limit how long they should live. How long? When they live to the extent where they can now be familiar to the point where they have no respect for the husband, they have no respect for the wife, anything can go. The troubles in marriages have come. Do you know that people break up in marriages after 20 years, after 18 years, after 15 years, and it's because of the influence of in-laws? Sister-in-law will come and they start saying some things and doing some kind of things. Brother-in-law will come. That is why we always advise strangers. It is better to have strangers in your house, because if anything happens, you should drive in the next day. But if you try for drive in-law, village go home meeting call you the next day. Come village now. Why you get for drive your own blood? That is exactly the problems we're having. What are some of these limits? The limits abound. Don't poke nose in the things that they have not called you. They need to call you to tell you that, Mommy, come on. Me and Mama Sanwuchi say, Wami, you can't talk about this particular matter. One of the things I avoid to do is to get into in-laws issues. I have my sisters who are married. At least I'm the firstborn. I do some kind of thing. I don't go to their marriages until they call me and tell me that this thing is involved, this thing is involved. If you call me, I come. You don't call me, I'm not going to come there, because I know that I don't have a say until you give me the right. And that is what Apostle just said here, that we should allow these people to call us into things. If they have not called us, we don't have the right to come and begin to decide on some things. Now let me tell you something. Marriage have upgraded. People are watching on the net. They are seeing new films. They are seeing new things. You just wait one day, that thing go pile until the day we go boss. You know, we know the way don't boss. So avoid bringing in your family to an extent where they can control your wife or they can control your husband. It becomes a very bad thing.
Okay, thank you so much, Apostle Alfred. Apostle Ambe Valentine, what happens in a situation where your spouse doesn't seem to see that your in-laws or the in-laws are prying into your private business. You have your wife, and your wife's family is prying into the business, but your wife doesn't see a problem with that. You have your husband's family is prying to your family matters, things that are supposed to be private, but your spouse does not see a problem with that. How then are you able to put the in-laws in their place when you do not have the support of your partner?
Yes, the problem is such persons in the first place never grew mature before getting married. They were either still mommy's son or daddy's daughter.
Sure.
That's it. And the Bible and the Bible says a man shall leave his father and mother, not a boy, not a girl. So boys and girls don't get married. It's men. And the manhood there has nothing to do with your age. It has to do with the ability to accept responsibility. That is to say, you are able to weather your storm, face your challenges, and be able to manage your own crisis yourself. That's a sign of maturity. Maturity is not when you grow beards. Even women grow beards these days. So beard is not a sign of maturity. There are so many women with beards on their chin. Yes. So when we talk about maturity, is the ability to weather storms, manage your crisis, and be able to handle things in your own way. You must be independent. That's what we call independent, actually. So you see, when a woman doesn't see any challenge with her family interfering in the marital affairs, that tells you she's not matured. Vice versa. And if a man does not see any problem, because there are men who tell you that, no, it's my mother, she's my mother, I cannot do anything without telling my mother, she's my mother. From courtship, if you have that kind of person that say, I will ask my mother, what my mother will say. You are not getting married to a man, you are getting married to a boy. Stop that thing at that level, because that thing will puncture you tomorrow in marriage. Most people who divorce, not that they did not see signs of divorce or people will bring them trouble tomorrow. They saw it, but they allowed their emotions to override their reason. So they entered into it thinking that with time, the man will get mature. No, they didn't tell you to get married to a boy. They told you to get married to a man. Somebody who didn't mature enough to handle things. We try to marry boys and make them men, but they didn't give us the opportunity to marry boys. They told us to marry men. So if you have not seen a man, don't marry. Yes, most people know he will grow with time. I think he will mature with time. And then you ask him that, this marriage is going to play. Well, I cannot say anything until my mother will decide. Maybe my mother says in the village, it will go in the village. Sister, if you're in that kind of relationship, stop it now. Now I'm talking on this screen. Stop it now. I'm helping you out of that trouble you are entering into. The same thing with the ladies. There are ladies who never left their home. Physically they left their home, but their mind, their thoughts, their pattern of life is still back home. They want to cook as mama cooked. They want to behave as mama behaved. They want to swim. Then their mother is their confidence. I was talking to one of my sons who is a gendarme. Got married to the wife. My wife said my mother was my bestie. That's the reason why I was so attached to my mother. I told her that you are bringing a war. Two people are fighting over you. Your mother's love and your husband's love. You know what I say? Except you want to get married to your mother, because your mother is gradually fighting the place of this
your
man.
Wife.
That's the problem. So coming back to answer your question, that what do you do with a situation of a man who does not see any problem with the in-laws interfering into their affairs? You have to build a wall. There are many ways to catch a rat. There is a way you will communicate gently, because you see, I've always taken history to solve problems, either through reconciliation method or military method. Yes, I don't use reconciliation to solve UPC crisis in Cameroon. Did not go. They have to use military method. That's the approach. There's a time you have to build a resistance. You have to build some walls to make him understand that you are not comfortable with that nonsense on both sides. If the man is that kind of cheap person where the family runs into his marriage like a brothel or a motel or a hotel, in and out, then you have to be the woman that to build a very stiff resistance against him so that you can call him back to order. That's the same thing with a woman on both sides. So if a wife is that kind of person that anything the mother has said, the father has said, you will tell her that it's either you go get married to your mother and your father, or you get married to me. As a matter of fact, you can't be looking two directions and telling me you are looking. Look at me. I'm the person who is leading you at this moment. If you want to pay attention, I'll keep you at the end there. The best I can give is to offer you food. And I'm going to make you feel very lonely to the extent that you realize that you need a husband, not a father and a mother. It's the same thing a woman too has to react, because there is no way you are going to discuss peacefully and things will go. There are some things we have to. We come on air and make as if our homes are some heavens on earth. There are things that when a man draws line, I'm telling you, that's how you put it. And a woman, when you cannot contain something anymore, you have to build a serious resistance against it. That's how you set some crisis. Nobody should come here and tell that we discuss, we dialogue, we negotiate. There are some levels where discussions and negotiation doesn't go. Is that not what ECOWAS said recently? ECOWAS said we're not going to carry on prolonged discussions. If Niger does not want to succumb, we are going to deploy military forces in their camp. So sometimes when you be with your wife in the house and the things are not going through communication, please try to mount a resistance and to put an end to certain things.
Let me stay with you, Apostle. You mentioned you've talked about building a resistance, but is the kind of resistance you build the same for a man like a woman? Let me say this with an example. Let's say a man has allowed his mother and even his sisters to pry so much into his home that the wife doesn't have a place. At this juncture, does that woman really stand a chance? Because it is slightly, if you look at it, you realize that it's slightly different for a man to build that resistance and for a woman to do same. The woman is literally standing on her own at this point in time.
I will answer you. Faith, marriage is not oxygen. Marriage is not the breath of life.
Okay.
Marriage is not the alpha and the omega. If the man has not made up himself to get married, let him get married to the mother and the sisters. It's simple. We are trying to make this marriage institution some kind of oxygen on earth that people cannot do without. You can't lose your life. I was watching a kid. A mother came to a house slapping the girl. The girl kept telling the guy was not doing anything. In the presence of that girl, that boy, the mother raised hand again and slapped the girl. And the girl woke up and gave the mother a slap. The boy rose up, slapped the girl. The girl gave the man double slap and said, I've been in this house complaining how your mother has slapped me. This is the 7th time. You said nothing. Now your mother is slapping me again in your presence. And when I slap her back, you slap me. He slapped the man 2 times. And he said, get married to your mother. So she should stay in that house and die. Because she's trying to know there are some attitudes you don't want in a home. You have to mount a resistance to put an end to it. There are men you will never talk to at certain level. They listen to you.
Apostle, it depends on the kind of marriage.
It's not it depends on the kind of marriage. Apostle, nobody is called to die in marriage. This is one thing we must part on this platform. Nobody has been anointed and called to marry you.
You beg the man to marry you.
Beg who? Beg who?
This kind of girls that we have today.
Beg who to marry you, so you will die.
I should just be with
the next day. See, those of you who are watching this thing, Osinachi died in Nigeria with a gift. She was serving not just the world, she was serving the body of Christ because of the irresponsibility of a man. I think those ancient times where women used to stay in a home and die in marriage has passed. Anything that will take you out of this earth in the name of marriage, dump it. It's me who tell you on screen television. Pack it aside. What's that?
Thank you so much, Apostle Ambe. I come now to you, Reverend Kenneth. We are dwelling on exactly how to draw that line. What exactly should a woman do? How exactly should a man tackle situations where it is quite obvious that the family of his wife or the family of her husband are getting into their business, whereas they are not supposed to?
You see, this issue has to do with orientation before marriage. Yeah. Premaritally, we spend much time trying to orientate people who are to get married on the management of third parties in relationships. Yes, third parties in general, because at times it might not only be the in-laws, but some other third parties. It could be exes, it could be neighbors, it could be colleagues and church members, pastors and what have you. And what we always say is that when people get married, the voice of every other person else is advisory and not prescriptive to whatever is happening in your marriage. Now, one of the things that couples should learn to do is that they should have a system. Their home should not just be like anything can go. Let them have an agreement on a number of things. Like, this is the value system of the home. What do we hold as a value? What is the culture of our home? And when you agree on it, there should be a resistance, as Apostle said. There should be a resistance whether the contravention of that thing is coming from the man's side or from the woman's side. Two of you should have some, because if there is no care, there is going to be some loose ends that will introduce bias in the relationship, such that if it is my family who is doing it, yeah, it is permissible. But if it is from the other side, I should fight. But if there is a culture that we have agreed upon and we know that we are fighting this thing from a common front, it is going to be very helpful.
Many people have come into relationships with that mindset that this man's family, I don't really see anybody in that family who is even there. My own family, we have parliamentarians in our family and commissioners and all the like, so who can do what? You know, it is like one family should be Israel, another one is Egypt being subjugated. So all of these things have to do with two people who have had the mindset that there is a mutuality in a relationship, which nobody is supposed to be looked at as if it is, you know, the other one is an underdog. However, I want to say that people should also learn how to build relationships with in-laws. For example, when you are getting married to somebody, like the man or the woman, the best way also to manage the relationship is look in the man's family. Who is that person in the man's family that the man listens to most? Who is that person that is dearest to the man? Build an affinity with the man. When you do this, on the day of Apostle. No,
maybe
I
she
think
not even want you to marry her son in the first place. Maybe she loves.
No, there is something about relationships. There is something about relationships. Human beings, we have difficult human beings, but the way to get people to get the attention and care of people is that plan your journey into somebody's heart. You will get there. Yes, if you learn to plan your journey into somebody's heart, that is how some people get it. There are people whose mother-in-law was so violent against them from the onset.
Yes.
But along the line, they won the heart of the mama that you cannot even joke.
It does not happen on one day.
Exactly,
yes.
Apostle. It doesn't happen on one day. Plan your journey into that person's heart. Understand the person and know how to enter the person. Most of the time, why do they mount that resistance? One, she is not our tribe's girl. Why? Because they think there's supposed to be some compatibility when it comes to culture. Two, they do it because maybe there is a bad experience the mama had with you when you and the guy were still planning marriage. They looked at you and like, this girl, they were visit the girl came to the house. She was all her time only on phone. She could not. We were going to the farm. As we were going to the farm, she remained her and she was only on phone. White slippers, clean, and then spray her perfume and remain. Then mama already starts building a kind of mindset against the lady. So disprove or make amends by being the wife that everybody is going to, or in fact most people, because it will be difficult to please everybody, that most people in the family will appreciate and be able to bond with. If you want to also be that kind of person that because you got married and somebody was not happy with you, you come and say, no, now that I'm married, they will only see me, they will see my true colors. And now that I'm already married to him, I could show them. Now I'm the wife, now I will show them. If you want to do that kind of thing, you're going to, in fact, it will be difficult because somebody will not also just abandon the mother overnight because he got married to you. Nobody will just abandon her father overnight because he got married to you. So if we also learn to be civil and sociable in the way we approach some of these in-laws, their difficultness, I don't know whether there's an English word like that, will be short-lived. How difficult they are will be short-lived because they want to create war. They want to fight war with somebody who is not ready to fight, but they will meet somebody who is very loving, caring. As you visit, you see how she's caring for you. As the mama is sick, she's the one to rush to the hospital. Most often she's the one asking the husband, have we not sent something to mama? Mama will end up looking at the father by it means I made an error by the cynicism that I demonstrated towards this lady, and it will be as simple as that. The issue is that the ego in us is usually the major challenge that we face. It's not that people are too difficult, because in social relationships, I always say this: reaction matters more than the action. That I gave you a slap on your jaw is less important than how you react to the slap. There are some people that you do certain things to them, and you end up feeling so ashamed by the virtue of how the person is becomes so civil. The person is so so nice towards you again. It's like your head begins to grow big. But why did I do this? You see. So all of these things have to do with people learning to lay down their egos. Let's trim it. It is an integral part of the human person. But if we learn to trim our ego, we learn to try to see how we get the dynamics of relationship. I think it's going to also pay off pretty much.
Let's take a few messages before we hear from Councillor Mrs. Asanji. It's important we get the perspective of a woman on tonight's topic. This one says, good evening. I'm George from EMEA. What if in a case where your sister gets married to a man of God who instead brings problems to the family? He wants to control us, his in-laws, our money, our lives, and more. But when we said no and stayed away, he has been saying we will never succeed until we come and submit to him, and we have not seen our sister or heard from her for the past 3 years. Well, Apostle Ambe is going to be answering that in the minutes ahead. Good evening to everyone in the studio. I wish to ask Apostle Ambe, well, second question, what can we do with in-laws that are extravagant and love money to a point where they give you a bride price which you cannot afford, but you love your wife and want to marry her but can't afford the exorbitant bride price? Should I impregnate their daughter and get all the children I want without paying the bride price, or I look for another woman whom I may not love? Wow, Apostle, I think you answered the first question first, and then we'll go on. I would hear from Councillor Mr. Sanji before we proceed. The first person is asking, what do you do with a man of God who seemingly has married their sister and has practically blocked everyone from the family because he was unable to control their money, their lives, and, well, all the things that he wanted to control?
I'm a servant of God, and I'm going to be addressing another servant of God whom I respect already in advance before knowing him. The truth is, when you get married to a family, you are getting married to your in-laws. Your in-laws are not your spiritual children. That's the first thing. No, we have to be sincere.
Exactly.
Your in-laws are not your spiritual children.
Yes.
Their wife, their daughter that they gave to you, you deserve to respect them. You respect your in-laws for giving you a woman. You treat them as mother and you treat them as fathers. That girl's father is your father, not your spiritual son. That girl's mother is your mother, not your spiritual daughter. Even if they are attending your church, their role in your life is far beyond any other elderly person who is attending that church. Besides, being a man of God does not make you lose respect for elderly people. There are elders in my church, mothers who can give birth to me. I don't call them daughters. I call them mama.
Yeah.
They are my mothers. I'm just privileged as a priest to be the head over them in spiritual matters. But they are more experienced in life in so many things I do not know. It will shock you that sometimes I call them and they counsel me on issues that life has taught them or they have not attained that age. So, such a person is possessive, such a person is impulsive, and you cannot win respect from people by imposing on them. I think you were supposed to be humble enough to the extent that they were expecting to see you control, yet they see you under. You earn more respect, because respect is earned, it's not demanded, it's not prayed for. You earn it the way you react towards them. They will say, this great man of God like this that we have in our family, instead of him trying to come to control us, yet he has come very humble, that we will submit. Submission is attracted by the way you behave towards people. So that girl, secondly, the girl's brothers and sisters are not your spiritual daughters or spiritual sons. They are your in-laws. If they decide to join your ministry tomorrow, it's because they want their sister's husband ministry also to advance. Because it's not an issue of you trying to tell them that you want to control their businesses. No. By so doing, you instead lost your respect. You were supposed to be making exploit in your own area, and then they should rush towards you, seeing that you are a leader who can guide them. Because the one you are trying to control people do not want, it's like you are superimposing leadership. I think leadership is something that attracts. Why don't you take their sister, better her life, do your ministry, create your impact? When the society begins to celebrate you, then they will not have value for you. Joseph told his brother he was a leader. They sold him. When he became a real leader, they came and bowed. When he told a brother, I'm a leader, you bow to me, they sold him into slavery because there was no result. When he went to Egypt and made impact, the brothers came, saw him, then they bowed to him. So to me, I don't believe that you are supposed to be imposing yourself on your. I have earned the respect of my in-law, not because I went and imposed myself to them. No, they have sat down, watched me clearly, realized that I'm giving a path that is distinguished. So it causes automatic attraction and respect. So that's what I think the man of God should do.
They said they have not seen their sister for 3 years.
Yes.
They go looking for her?
No. It is his wife. It is his wife.
It's the sister that has the problem.
It's the sister that has a problem. If she decides to tell her husband how to see my people, then it is her choice. She has to see her people. She cannot tell us that communication with her entire family is cut off. Even people who don't want to discuss, they discuss from behind. How do men discuss with their side chick with their wives in the house? So men even answer calls with their side chick in the presence of their wife. And then you cannot relate with your sisters because we did jet it that we are inside. There's social media. You can communicate with your sisters and tell her this is the situation on ground. I don't know if I'm answering wrongly.
Because I told you about some of these situations that people are begging marriage. That girl may be begging this man of God for marriage. That is why for 3 years she can be there. That is it.
She's taking
She's
all
worshiping the man because she does not want to lose that man.
Let us stay there.
These men of God of today, they are not playing. No, you play today, they move you marry another one. Then they play. Then they look face. We don't see them for television, see them for all place. So some of these girls into their sense they don't come inside. So that we should be careful about some things. Not be all man marry, fine married. Some force these girls to marry them, and some force these men to marry them. So they pampered and are pampered and for whole may reach. If not, be so go broke for root. So marriage the day like a egg where the fear may no fall.
But Apostle said marriage is not a do or die matter. That we should.
When you say do or die, people then get their thing where they go do or die for day. You know, yes. No, we cannot tell them. The fact that Apostle cannot do or die in marriage does not mean that some other people will not do or die. Some of these girls, if you look at them, they have shape, they have beauty, they have everything. You instead if here every day, say you know, sharp one. It go outside, especially no be a spoiler. That is exactly. Some people are just looking for an opportunity to leave. They will not tell you that that's what they are planning. So we should be careful how we handle these things. They are very sensitive, very, very sensitive. You know what I'm talking about, Faith. Some marriages are people are barely begging because the woman when you wake up for monitor every day, you look the woman you say you know say if you leave the woman now 15 man picking they will come for you. That is how it goes, and the same thing with the men. Some men you beg and may they stay because you know say as you wait so man papa people when they run for papa icon, you know how many papa say don't talk to your family, say yes sir, I will never talk to my family, and he's the one checking your phone every day.
Well, we're going to come back to that. We right on with a few messages. This one says, good evening to the panel. This is a very touching and interesting topic. I appreciate my Media Prime and the panelists for such a topic and their contributions. This case of difficult in-laws is very dominant in cases where the father of the girl is of late. In most cases that I have seen, it is the mother-in-laws and sisters that come to dictate who and how their sister's daughter will live at home. The father's family is completely ignored, and some mother-in-laws just give the way for their sisters and brothers to dictate for their children. This is a call for
all of these things. People must know how. In fact,